Hey, what's up, everybody? It is February 3rd, Monday, the day before Abolition Day at the Oklahoma State Capitol. And I know I've posted about Abolition Day a number of times, but I always feel that I'm not really doing everything that I could do to tell my fellow Oklahomans about what's going on and what they ought to do to be salt and light in Oklahoma in regards to the political situation and the legal situation surrounding the plight of their preborn neighbors. And so here while I make my way across town to work, I'm going to talk a bit about the state of abortion in Oklahoma and why babies are still being murdered here. Now, to begin, I want to go all the way back to, I'm not going to go all the way back to like 2010, 2011 when I became an abolitionist, but I'm just going to go back to about 2016. In 2016, the abolitionist movement in Oklahoma had reached the point where we had enough people working together, enough people on board with, just abolitionist agitation, evangelism, going to the abortion mills, going to the college campuses, some high school campuses, trying to get fellow Christians, churches involved in the work of abolishing abortion instead of regulating abortion. We had a small but decent sized influence on social media. So there were abolitionists, even though you may not have known about it then, but back by 2016, there were enough abolitionists in the country and in the state of Oklahoma that we felt that we could host a conference and activism mission just simply called Abolish Abortion Oklahoma. And that instead of just focusing solely on sort of street work or social media arguments and all that kind of stuff, we were going to go to the Capitol. So instead of like when it was first pitched in our meetings and stuff, we said, hey, let's do what we do at the abortion mill or at the college campus at the Capitol. So let's go to the Capitol, hold signs outside of the Capitol, march outside of the Capitol, hand out pamphlets, try to get legislators and lobbyists to be involved in the work of abolition. And so back in 2016, we started, this kind of started, towards the end of 2014 and through 2015, started thinking, okay, what does a pamphlet look like designed for the Capitol? What does it look like for abolitionists to really apply themselves politically? And so the first thing that we kind of did, just for the sake of getting the ideas out, like the language, abortion is murder, it should be treated like murder. Myself and others in Norman, we studied the initiative petition process and saw that politically, people of our state had the right to attempt to put a question on the state ballot. Should abortion be treated as homicide in the state of Oklahoma? Like an amendment initiative to put abolishing abortion into our state constitution via the ballot. So this is not necessarily a strategy that I would say is always good, but at that time, it was, hey, you know what? We want to put abortion as homicide in front of people. How do we get that in the newspaper? How do we turn the newspaper or the newscast into a drop card or a t-shirt? Like, we're wearing t-shirts or we're dropping cards. How do we get abortion as murder in the news? And so, there's a fairly simple process of writing language that you believe that you would like to put on the ballot and then submitting it, getting it in the right form and all that, and then collecting signatures. And I think we had to collect something like 155,000 or 175,000 signatures to even put that on the ballot. And we thought, well, whether we can do that or not, we're going to try. But, the 30 or 40 abolitionists in the Abolitionist Society of Oklahoma were not going to be able to do that alone. And usually organizations that want to put amendment initiatives on ballots, spend a ton of money, like hiring people to go collect signatures and, work full time, and they pay them for signatures and all this kind of stuff. And we weren't going to go that route because we have no money. We never have any money. And so what we did is we sort of put the call out and said that in 2016, we filed the language, we had it all ready, and for a certain week, I think it was actually 10 days that we were going to do, 8 to 10 days, I can't remember. We were going to invite abolitionists from around the nation to come to Oklahoma to help us collect signatures to put this on the ballot. And so we started advertising it. We put out Abolish Abortion Oklahoma, signs and materials and invitations. This was the conference, and we were going to be doing activism every day. There's going to be, most of the day was going to be like activism, street work, petition gathering. But it was not going to be just going and getting signatures. We were going to kind of combine the signature getting process with evangelism and agitation. So we had this pamphlet. It was like 20-page long pamphlet, and the official signature thing, clipboards, and drop cards and stuff. And we're just going to go, and we're going to do door-to-door stuff. We were going to go to festivals and stuff. And we picked a week where all of the primary presidential candidates were coming into town to stump for, to win primary votes. So the week that we chose was going to be a week when Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and the others, Rand Paul, I can't remember, maybe Rand Paul, they were all going to be in town doing their sort of like stump speeches in Oklahoma for primary votes. And so, we worked all this out, started doing all the process, crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. The language was it was a petition initiative language. It's very simple. Abortion is murder. It should be treated as murder. And in our statutes, it should be a criminal offense of homicide to choose abortion, to elect the abortion of a preborn human being. Very simple. Well, got all that together and went to, we're heavily recruiting. We got maybe about 200 people or so signed up, planned to come to Oklahoma already for this event, for this activism. And then I got a letter in the mail from the Oklahoma Supreme Court, just from the government, saying that the ACLU and some other folks had sued our petition initiative as unconstitutional on its face. They were claiming that because Roe v. Wade, we could not collect signatures in the state of Oklahoma to put abolition on the ballot, which kind of the pamphlet was going to say, put abolition on the ballot. And that's what the pamphlet was, it was all about, put abolition on the ballot. And so we were told, no, you can't do that. You can't collect signatures. We're not going to accept them until the Supreme Court of Oklahoma weighs in on this. And so they set a court date for this, the ACLU of Oklahoma versus Thomas Hunter. You can go look this up. This is an actual thing. ACLU versus, my first name is Thomas, T. Russell Hunter. And so, shucks, we got all these people that are coming to town. So, that wasn't fun. But then we said, you know what? Actually, there's always been something a little bit wrong about the idea that we would put abolition on the ballot by petition, and there was something risky about that. Have the people really repented, put this on the ballot, they may vote for abortion, and it kind of blow up in our face a little bit. So that was always a bit, but we were kind of but that doesn't matter, because it's all about getting people to think. It's all about agitation. It's all about getting people to move further on in the ideas and ultimately to repent of being, allowing the murder of preborn children, to seeing preborn children as equal and treating them with the same love, law, respect, protection, and justice. So we were like, you know what? Okay, fine. We'll go to this court. We'll go and we'll do that. But we'll still collect signatures, but it'll be for a old school petition, a popular petition, hey, this is how many people in Oklahoma want abortion to be abolished, and we'll take those signatures and we will present them to the legislators at the Oklahoma State Capitol. So we just kind of shifted our thing, and actually I think it was better, because the right to petition our government, which is, kind of a First Amendment right, is it's not like you follow our system to, collect these signatures and then you can put this on the ballot. That's like this whole bureaucratic control thing. It makes it almost impossible to get something on the ballot unless you're sort of funded by some big money interest. And so I was like, you know what? Actually, this is cool. And also, we didn't really want to have to collect 175,000 signatures. That was going to be a brutal week. So we transformed the week a little bit, and instead of going around to the culture collecting signatures, we said we're going to collect signatures at these presidential primary events. We're going to collect signatures as we go, but we're going to specifically target the Capitol, the legislature, the Senate, the House, the governor, and we're going to take the message and call and cry for abolition to them. Because, hey, we can't put abolition on the ballot. Maybe they will put abolition into a bill. Maybe they'll put forward a bill treating abortion as murder. And so you can go back and watch these videos from like 2015, 2016, where it's me, skinnier, saying like, listen, you've done all these pro-life bills, but you've never treated it as murder. Like that's the characteristic of all pro-life bills. Abortion is bad. It should be regulated in these various ways, but none of them were treating abortion as murder, seeking to criminalize it as homicide. So, made the videos, made the, materials, transformed them a bit, and then took the pamphlet to the legislators. And so we went, and also just in the providence of God, the ACLU versus Thomas Hunter was scheduled for like middle of the week that all these people were coming to town. So all these people were coming to town to collect these signatures, and now we're going to be taking all these people to the Capitol to engage legislators to try to find someone up there that will take our bill and take our petition language and put it in a bill. We'll just bypass the whole process of putting it on the ballot and get a legislator. Well, so we started going from office to office, just talking to all the senators, talking to all the representatives. Eventually, we talked to Senator Joseph Silk. He was a freshman senator. He was a pro-lifer. He was a good guy, Christian guy. Got in there for the same reason that lots of people end up running for office, think they can do some good in the world, change the world. And, one of his main issues was going to be being pro-life. So he had already, in working with some other pro-life organizations, snagged up heartbeat bill legislation, which in the state of Oklahoma, there hadn't been a heartbeat bill. So he had snagged up heartbeat bill legislation and had actually already successfully moved that through the Health and Human Services Committee. And so it had already gone through the committee. And so he had, when myself, Josh Malone, and maybe another abolitionist knocked on his office to talk to him about abolition and give him our pamphlet, he had already put a heartbeat bill onto the floor. Would be going up for a floor vote. So pretty incredible providential thing that myself ended up in his office, and I was sitting there talking to him. And of course this is 2016, so all the details a little bit fuzzy, but I remember my part of it, and Senator Silk has told his part of it a number of times, so it's kind of kept it fresh, to hear the story over and over again. But when we started talking to him, it wasn't but like 5 to 10 minutes before he kind of was like, yeah, no, I agree with you guys. What am I doing? I mean, I think that I was specifically talking about how the pro-life movement does silly things like heartbeat bills, as if the image of God is connected to the possession of a beating heart, as if murder is prohibited for humans after they've reached a certain stage. No, human beings should all be protected, even in their earliest stages. And, talked about, I was probably just mocking heartbeat bills and stuff, heartbeat bills, fetal pain bills, all the different regulatory bills, look at an ultrasound, then kill your baby bills, like all that stuff. And he, instead of being offended and prideful and arrogant, was like, yeah, totally. What am I doing? I'm with you guys. I'm an abolitionist. And so all those signatures that we were collecting to put before the legislators to say, hey, this is what the people want, we were still doing that. The debate that I had with the ACLU in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court, we still did that. We still passed out all the pamphlets. But ultimately, what ended up happening is seeing all the abolitionists walking through the halls, calling for abolition, and going into the offices and talking, ultimately led to this conversation. And Silk gutted, like he took his heartbeat bill, the language, and he could do this is procedural right of a state legislator. He took that language, scrubbed it, and he replaced his protect babies after they have a heartbeat language with word for word language from our petition initiative. And so in that move, the very language that the Oklahoma Supreme Court was going to tell us was unconstitutional, became a bill on the Senate floor. Now, he was a young man, he was a young pro-lifer, and, what ended up happening is, they ignored it. Greg Treat, the pro tem of the Senate, the leadership of the Senate, they looked at the thing and they said, this is wrong. We would have probably, had to debate. Sorry, I'm moving this sun is kind of weird in my face. So what ended up happening is that Greg Treat and the Senate leadership basically said, no, we're not going to hear this abolition bill. And even though it's on the floor, we're going to ignore it. We're going to table it because we're not going to abolish abortion here. Now, when that happened at the Oklahoma State Capitol, there was another bill. It was a bill that all in 2016. There was another bill, and this other bill was not abortion is murder, it should be abolished. It was abortion is a practice we don't like. And we're not allowed to do anything to it because of Roe v. Wade, but Oklahoma has the right to give medical licenses to people based on things. And so since we have that right under our subservience to the federal government, we're going to take away medical licenses from abortion doctors, give them a fine, make them jump through some hoops if they want to get their medical licenses back. And so that was the big cause celeb of the pro-life grassroots in Oklahoma. They had all sorts of just random, just the kind of bills that are put forward every year, this or that kind of abortion regulating bills. And but Nathan Dahm had Senate Bill, I think it was like 1118. 57. Doesn't matter. There were two bills. I think the abolition bill ended up being Senate Bill 1118. Sorry. And then the other one was like 57 something or other. Anyway, there was a take away medical license bills because abortion's bad, and then there was abolish abortion because it's murder. So like put abortion in the homicide statutes to make it illegal. And so those we were there, and so you have hundreds. I think we had about 300 or so abolitionists eventually joining us from both Oklahoma and out of state, coming to the Capitol. And it just so happened that like the next 2 weeks after a lot of people had gone home, we'd still had a lot of people in Oklahoma who were still going back up to the Capitol to see what would come of Senate Bill 1118, the Abolition Act. So this is the first Abolition Act, and it's there and then that we start seeing what it looks like for abolition to start making inroads into the political world. A lot of this is documented in documentaries and videos and stuff, but a lot of you probably don't know about it, and I'm just telling it to you for the first time. And there's a reason I'm about to end, because I didn't want this video to go more than like 25 minutes or something. So what ended up happening is Senator Silk was trying very hard to get this bill heard, and he's being told by leadership, do not hear it. And the abolitionists were still coming, and they were like, knocking on the doors and demanding that it be heard. And we're beginning to get online saying, hey, this person, this pro-life leader is trying to kill this bill and not hearing this bill. And they're favoring this bill from Nathan Dahm over this abolition bill. And Nathan Dahm and all those pro-lifers, they're like, I don't even know who you people are. Like, you're just out of nowhere, like coming up here and messing with our big, their big campaign to take away the healthcare licensing thing had been very funded and approved and supported by all these churches, and then we just came out of nowhere saying, no, justice and only justice is what you should be seeking. Criminalize abortion as homicide. And so what ended up happening is those two bills began being compared and contrasted online. And it was going to be very clear that they were going to hear the pro-life bills and not hear the abolition bills. And it's then that I intercepted a letter that Tony Lounger, the vice president of the National Right to Life and the president of Oklahomans for Life, had been circulating to all of the legislators as a pro-life leader, saying, hey, don't vote for Senate Bill 1118. Do not criminalize abortion as homicide. If you do that, it's going to do away with all of our pro-life bills, and it's just not good. It's not the right time. We can't do this. The Roe v. Wade, like just a letter explaining, little, but basically making the case that I am the leader of the pro-life organization. I'm the leader of a national pro-life organization. I'm the one who gives you A's or B's or C's whenever you're running. I'm the one who decides whether you're pro-life or not. Do not vote for this abolition bill. Do not hear this abolition bill. At the same time, abolitionists, along with Senator Joseph Silk, were circulating an in-house petition of legislators who wanted to hear Senate Bill 1118. And we got 20 or so legislators that were like, no, we want to hear this. And we were presenting that to the pro tem of the Senate. Important thing to note here is that at the time we had a pro-life governor, a pro-life lieutenant governor. We had majorities in the House and majorities in the Senate, super majorities. And we were considered by all of the pro-life organizations nationally to be the most pro-life state in the nation, right? There was language on the Senate floor saying abolish abortion as murder, and they were wanting to table it. So at this point, the abolitionists had entered into the political realm, okay? We had gone up there with a bill to abolish abortion, or we had gone up there with nothing, with just language for our petition initiative. Then Silk adopted it and put it in his bill. There's a whole other story. There's so much more detail about this, but just keeping it to this is the main conversation. We saw the pro-life movement would be the enemy of abolitionism when it entered the political realm. I had been told all the way back in 2012 whenever we first started putting abolish human abortion on posters and flooding Facebook with them and stuff, I'd been told by pro-life leaders like Kristen Mercer Hawkins that, yeah, abolishing abortion as murder is a thing, and we all want to do that, and we all set out to do that, but then we have to get realistic. No one is ever going to do that. This is a pipe dream. I've been told that, like, in emails and conversations with like pro-life leaders as I was trying to sort of like go, hey, I've been studying your movement. I've repented of my own abortion apathy. Let's go do this thing. I was told this will never, ever happen. And when I said why, they was like, because you'll never find a senator willing to run something like that. Well, we had found a senator, or a rep. We had found a senator, and he was willing to run it. And then now that it was there, the thing that they said that they wanted, but just didn't try to do because it wasn't realistic, it was all there. They had the votes, they had the numbers, they had the power, and instead of being like, well, let's do it, they opposed it. And that began in 2016. I mean, I knew this was going to happen actually back in, because I had studied the abolitionist movement against chattel slavery, I knew that this was going to happen. Because I had studied human nature, I knew this was going to happen. But back in 2011, when I had said, listen, whenever we finally get inroads and start putting forward bills of abolition, the pro-life movement and the pro-choice movement will together oppose our bills. I'd say that all the time, and people would be like, yeah, okay, Russell, we like your posters and stuff. We like you all right, but you're kind of crazy. You're kind of crazy. Pro-lifers aren't that bad. But by 2016, that's when it began to be very clear to everyone that no, the pro-life movement is the enemy of the abolitionist movement. They will not only just not be on board, but they will oppose you. Like, you think they're on your team, but like in Braveheart, when you fight the other side and you knock them off the horse and you take off the helmet, you're going to see the pro-life movement looking right back at you. They will be not just not fighting with you, they will be fighting against you. And because I had said that to so many people internally, and they'd been like, okay, maybe. When we got that letter from Tony Lallinger, and it was very clear that he was telling people to oppose abolition, that was, I think, for a lot of people, it solidified them in the abolitionist cause. But yet still we're small, right? So I'm gonna cut the video off here. I need to pick this up. I need to do a full-blown history, but the reason I wanted to talk about this is because tomorrow is Abolition Day, and we're going again to call for the total and immediate abolition of abortion in Oklahoma. And the world is so different now. We're talking 2016 to 2025. Here we have now, all the abortion mills are closed. All of the pro-life bills and laws are no longer, there's all these laws about, like, you can get an abortion after you look at an ultrasound. You can get abortion after, or before a beating heart. You can get an abortion, before they feel pain. All of those, if you have your parents' permission. That whole thing is gone. That was all delaying mechanism. It was all just what pro-lifers were doing while they bided their time. The demand for nullification eventually led to the Supreme Court shifting, saving face, saying, oh crap, what are we going to do? Well, let's give states the right. A lot of the landscape has changed. But here we are. We're still in Oklahoma. We're still murdering babies. There are 2,000 to 3,000 that we know from just people ordering and taking pills. But that doesn't probably even scratch the surface of how many abortions are actually happening. And it certainly doesn't scratch the surface of how many people who live in a state that's not telling them it's murder, but telling them we're not doing that here unless you order a pill. So they just drive to Wichita. So for a lot of us, it's, 2, 3, 4 hours to the nearest abortion clinic. It's someone who wants to abort a baby and didn't order a pill can do that. And so we see abortion spikes in Wichita. We see abortion spikes in ordering pills. I go out and talk to people all the time. There's nothing about what I see that makes me think that college kids aren't aborting their babies on the regular. And so they're all very much defending something that they do. It's not, our culture has not changed, but the abolitionist movement has grown and expanded and is now a national thing. People know about it. There's a question of, are you an abolitionist? Are you pro-life or are you pro-choicer? It's a massive, debate. And so we have come a long way. And we have gone from sort of making inroads politically to now you've got people faking abolition at the federal level. And you've got all sorts of shenanigans that are new, but they're the same old thing in the sense that they're the same old spirit. We've got the situation of a culture that does not want to repent, that needs to be called to repent of the evil of practicing child sacrifice. And we've got an abolitionist movement that is now in the, I think this is the 8th or 9th year that we've been going to the Oklahoma State Capitol to demand the abolition of abortion. And so tomorrow, when we go, it's just to a different world. Like they know what they're doing. They're guilty. They know that abortion hasn't been abolished, but now they're hoping that they can just keep it secret. They want to tell people that abortion is under wraps and all this kind of stuff. And we need to go tell them, no, you've just shifted the way it's done. And so we need to once again go with an uncompromising spirit, demanding the abolition of abortion, talking to all of our legislators, and go in the knowledge and in faith that there could be Joseph Silks there. In fact, we know there are Joseph Silks there. That's what I'm saying. This video could be 50 hours long. We've now got Senator Warren Hamilton as an abolitionist there, second term. Like he ran as an abolitionist against a pro-lifer with a 100% A+ pro-life rating and beat him and took his seat and has been filing an abolition act every year that he's been there. We've got Dusty Devers, who ran as an abolitionist outwardly there, author of the Abolition Act this year, right? We've got 2 senators. We've got a guy in the House of Representatives, new to abolition, saying, yeah, I will file a companion bill over here in the House. So we've got abolition bills in the Senate and in the House. And the people, the abolitionist people, we need to go to the Capitol to demand that they stop tabling these things, stop ignoring these things. Eventually, with Senator Warren Hamilton, they actually heard one in committee and voted it down. When they vote this down, we need to turn around and tell the churches, tell the people, tell everyone we can that you know who's killing the bills to abolish abortion in Oklahoma? The pro-lifers. At this point, we're telling them, the pro-lifers are saying that there's no more abortion in Oklahoma. We need to say, no, there is abortion in Oklahoma, and everybody who needs an abortion knows it. And when they take these pills and they murder their children, they do it with immunity from the pro-life leaders in our state. And so there's a lot of information, and there is solid abolitionist legislation, Senate Bill 456. I don't know what the House bill number is going to be, but Senate Bill 456 is there, and we need to go from office to office talking to each legislator and say, before God, before man, you took an oath to the Constitution, an oath to the state constitution to protect and defend every innocent human being and their rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Apply that and keep your oath and do justice, show mercy, and if you're fearful and you think that it's not going to work, walk humbly with God. Do what God says, leave the results to Him. So, if you're kind of on the fence, if you were willing to listen to me talk for 34 minutes and you're at the end of this video and you're not going to be at abolition tomorrow, it's because you're not in Oklahoma, or you really can't get off work or can't get away from something. But a lot can happen. We can change the world. I mean, it sounds really corny, but a lot can happen if we just get up and go. So much of what you see going on, all these abolition bills, all of this abolition debate, controversy that's going on, kind of can be traced back to just faithful action back in 2016, back to 2010, maybe even before then, where people just looked at their lives and said, okay, I'll get up and go. I'll just get up and I'll go. So that's what we need from people. And tomorrow we're meeting at 10 a.m. Well, we're not meeting at 10 a.m. We're meeting at noon. There's a rally at noon. But when you get to the Capitol at 10 a.m., there will be folks around with material to give to you to help you lobby your legislators, like material on, kind of what's in the bills and what the bill numbers are, and what's good and what's bad and that sort of stuff. So when you enter the Capitol, the ground floor of the lobby, there will be people from Abolish Abortion Oklahoma who will give you some material to help you lobby from 10 to noon. And then after lobbying, there will be a rally outside where you'll hear from abolitionist leaders, and you'll hear from the abolitionist senators, and hopefully somehow just being there, being seen, being used by God, availing yourself to be used by God, we will actually tomorrow move the abolitionist movement even further, right? Sometimes abolitionists get made fun of for we don't want to take steps. No, we take steps all the time. I'm asking you to take steps to the dang Capitol tomorrow, but we also are going to move we're going to demand the same thing, the abolition of abortion to the glory of God, without exception, without compromise, and we're saying the same thing that we were saying back in 2016. But this time when we go, we're going to be a little bit larger. I don't know if we're larger in numbers. I don't know if this is going to be a big one or a small one, but we are definitely further along in the growth and spread of abolitionist ideology. And our strategy is being implemented, and we are closer to the goal than we were. So in that sense, we don't think abortion is going to be abolished overnight, but we don't think that abortion is ever going to be abolished if we're not calling for it. So we are calling for it without compromise, and we are gaining ground. So join us tomorrow, Oklahoma State Capitol, to help us gain more ground, meet more people, bring more people into the movement, and who knows, God could give us quite a good victory. So we just need to be willing and obedient to go and do what we ought to do. All right, so thank you for watching my short video. Just know that it could have been so very much longer, and that there are many, many, many more parts to this story that should and will be told.